dealing with that speed as we get into this.
Let's see. Comes down to this grand finals. Who wins the East, Rowan University or Rensselaer? We're about to find out in this best of 7, gentlemen. Let's rock it.
Professor Cab gonna look to start things off for Rowan here, but Corelli, this may be the fastest game that we've seen all week in terms of just the speed of both teams. Both teams are capable of just hitting that next gear, if you will.
Yeah, these teams kind of have similar play styles. They like to smother their opponents on offense, and that's Professor Cab immediately putting one to the back of the net in the first 30 seconds, and it's kind of a free aerial here as nobody was up from Rensselaer to challenge. You can see Relax very late having to read the shot instead of the ball coming off the ceiling. Professor Cab, the speed coming out, and Rowan's on the board first.
Masterclass in the nice angle touch there. Put a little bit of English on it. Finger roll. Starts things off. Rowan up 1.
And you also got to remember that game 1s that feature a team that just got done winning a series. You know, I don't actually have the statistics, so I'm going with the real feel. The real feel statistic for me is 9 times out of 10, the team that just won the previous series is going to win game 1, but then things tend to even themselves out. Again, no real statistical backing, so take that for what you will.
It's a gut stat.
I love gut stats. They're my favorite kind.
Same.
Well, Professor Cab able to move that down the pitch. Corky keeps this one close to him, looking to try to, it looked like he was expecting Brian Bussey to hit that one up, and he didn't. Still Rowan. We know they're capable of locking down the pitch, and so far they've locked down possession. That's not a good touch from Furain. Professor Cab is going to take advantage. Relax hops up for a save. Gary keeps it in play. Relax has to get it downfield. Now Corky on the transition is just way too slow. He can't get to the ball in time. And Brian Bussey's whiff will be to the favor of Rowan. Professor Cab shoots past the ball.
Yeah, big miss there. Could have kept the offense on. Gary's still trying to make that happen as 2 are tied up here from Rowan. It's going to be Brian Bussey to go for it here. Furain trying to slow it down. But what Rowan's doing a good job of is finding the ball in the pockets of the defense for Rensselaer. They're really not having that suffocating offense, but they're keeping Rensselaer respectful on defense and making sure that no one's going to push out without being punished.
Another challenge in midfield, but this time Corky's ready for it. And again, we're probably going to see a lot of those challenges just going straight up. These players meeting it both at the point of origin. Off the backboard is, oh, it's blocked off of Brian Bussey. Furain almost did it himself, but Rowan with Brian Bussey. I just remember Chiefs and I were talking about wanting to see him step up today, and boy, has he.
Yeah, some big saves coming out from him and some offense from him as well. So far, Rowan, as we approach, or just past halftime here, do have a 1 goal lead. That's a double commit coming out from them here as Rensselaer could capitalize Professor Cab to try and clean this one up. But Relax still keeping the attack on. Rensselaer trying to find their footing on offense as they just have had very few opportunities, but they finally do there. Furain and Relax, the duo for Rensselaer linking up, and they tie it up.
I was going to say, Rowan, we're giving them the space for a little bit there, and Relax finally takes advantage of the gap, and Rensselaer tie the game up.
Sometimes just missing out on an opportunity is what energizes a team. For Furain to have that cheeky shot on goal just narrowly get blocked, you can definitely see that in voice comms. They're like, okay, guys, we can definitely get this ball into the back of the net. Follow-up pressure.
No power. Ooh. No power.
And I think he might have lost his flip there.
Yeah.
He was looking for it as he had a little bit delayed there to throw out the defense. If he had a couple extra milliseconds there, he could have put that one away.
And Furain met by Gary. And just some time here for Rensselaer in the attacking third. Relax gets by 1. Gary able to pick this one up. Furain is there. Good defense out the corner for Rowan. And that one's just a give to Brian Bussey. And Brian just missing that touch. Relax now going to try to play it slow. He flicks it by, but really this is just buying time for Rensselaer as both of his teammates needed boosts. And it was enough time indeed as Corky now past midfield. Furain couldn't get there in time though. But the Engineers, it's exactly what they needed. In the times you need to get boosts and reset, just need one player to buy that time, and they've been so good at controlling the ball. We talk so much about possession and how important it is and how hard it is for teams to consistently have possession. Right now, Rensselaer past Brian Bussey. Gary just tried to keep it away from Rensselaer, did not want it boom back the other way. 40 seconds left, still tied.
Yeah, and Rowan definitely looking a little bit more dangerous on offense. Rensselaer are starting to get more and more options, but it's nothing like we've seen in their previous series where they're ringing the ball off the crossbar, or these free backboard shots. Rensselaer have been shut down and been very muted on offense.
That shot's good, but Corky is able to make the save. Professor Cab fighting him the whole way. He also got the boost, and it splits the gap. Professor Cab off to Gary, blocked by Furain. 15 seconds left. Rowan threatening. Furain kills the assault, moves it downfield. Can the Engineers score with regulation? They cannot, but one more chance. Maybe Gary hops up to be able to make the save, and we go to overtime.
An overtime game is what I would expect between these two teams, again, who have very similar play styles here. Rowan definitely getting the better of Rensselaer in this game with more offensive opportunity.
That was some lightning fast transition at the end of that game, too. Rowan's definitely starting to pick up the overall pace. I was impressed by that.
And the pace is being matched on the other side of the pitch as well. And a lot of this is, you know, just challenges that are neutralized. And so it's about, every challenge you make is neutral, then the way you adapt to that is you got to get closer to your teammate on those plays, right? If you're the second man, rely on your third man just in case anything goes all real. Relax gets an incredible touch, but a better save from Gary. We've seen his acrobatics before, and he performs once more.
Yeah, Furain missing that corner boost gives someone an opportunity here to make the play.
Oh my
as
goodness.
Gary has to make up for a miss there from Brian Bussey, and Furain still trying to keep the attack on for Rensselaer. Once they get going, they're dangerous. It's 2 commit on this one, but still an opportunity. It's Corky. Oh, he hits the post. It was open there for Corky, and he couldn't put it away.
Corky, we need to have a talk. That talk is slowed down. The net was wide open and relaxed. He takes the ball out of contention for the net. And unfortunate, not like he intended so. He just got bumped back into it, and now he's forced back. And we see a lot of physical play now coming out. Professor Cab playing this aggressively. Losing the ball was relaxed. Here's Gary off the ceiling, almost makes the touch. The challenges are being made from the weirdest angles right now, and it's just killed the drives for both squads. Still tied.
Should Rowan come away with game number 1, that is going to sit with Rensselaer for a long time. Sure, they're going to be able to rally back. This is an incredibly strong team, but when you have the ball rattling around in the net in grand finals in game number 1, that's tough.
Oh, and Brian Bussey had the shot there. That one's just off the back wall, and now Professor Cab, you can't keep it in play.
It's sitting on Rensselaer right now. Corky knows he could have scored that shot. He knows he could have put this game away, and it's frustrating to have that one not go in, but you got to keep going. You've got to forget about it. Rowan knocking on the door here as Brian Bussey off the ceiling here. Could be an opportunity. It's a weak clear from Relax. The shot from Gary's also weak, and the clear comes out from Furain.
Really, Brian Bussey on a couple of these opportunities, he's undercut the ball, which has forced it to go high and above the net, and he's had the option for the net. He's a little too quick to the ball, and you can understand as Rensselaer have demanded that kind of speed, and so he has to respect the challenge potential from Rensselaer on the play. Either way, they've had a couple of chances, Rowan has. Granted, not nearly as much of a chance as Rensselaer has had in this overtime, but still, we're headed to 3 minutes in, still fighting for possession. Gary able to clear it out to the corner. A demo on the backside for Corky will maybe kill the Engineer assault. Relax is there. He buys some time. And it's just a fight in the corner for the ball. Professor Cab takes control.
And again, Rensselaer are doing a good job of keeping possession on their final third. It's actually better in this 3-minute overtime than it has been in regulation, but not too many dangerous chances coming out, not forcing the defense, not testing them as much as they like.
And Gary playing this close to him, he does just kick it right back to Relax there. So he starts off with the right idea, but then if he's going to kick it like that, his teammate needs to be ready to at least be able to make a challenge on that play, because that touch gave Rensselaer this possession right now. They wouldn't be on offense if Gary tries to maintain possession there and make a guy miss, and instead boots it away.
And give credit to the Rowan defense right now. They are shutting down everything that Rensselaer is throwing at him, and Rensselaer is throwing the ball at their back wall. You can see Professor Cab a couple times being there. That's a missed shot. Corky maybe can make up for it, but again, Professor Cab just being a nuisance in the midfield there, in between the midfield line and the top of the box, actually, as the Rowan defense stands tall.
Absolutely, and Brian Bussey has been making several good challenges in midfield. That one didn't go anywhere for Rowan. Corky trying to force the issue. See Relax playing the positioning off of Brian Bussey. Professor Cab, though, going to be able to take it away. So Relax couldn't get a solid touch onto the ball. Corky makes a much-needed challenge for Rensselaer to move back to the blue half.
When the game sits on a knife edge like this, especially 4 minutes and 30 seconds into overtime, you start to think about your actions a little bit more. Do I make this challenge? Should I challenge? Should I play more conservatively? Do I want to make sure, or do I want to get in front of the defense here? And is my teammate going to double commit with me? You start thinking about your plays a little bit more.
You start fussing about the details, and when you fuss about the details, you know, that's when your automatic is not working, and the details shouldn't be fussed about.
What a clash of wills right now. You know neither one of these teams wants to give up game one in the way that overtime has gone like this. Once a game is 5 minutes, wrapping around a corner towards 6, it's just like, I don't want to give up an inch to this other team. I got to win game number 1.
We played 2 full games of Rocket League in game number 1, and I can't help Corelli Halorn but go back to Corky's opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Way early in overtime, we'd be done with game 2 by now. But instead, Rensselaer finally get the win. Furain finishes it after a marathon of a first game.
And it doesn't take a spectacular play. It's just a missed touch off the back wall from Brian Bussey, and Furain's there to follow it up. The defense finally cracks for Rowan, and you kind of feel like Rensselaer in that overtime were in control on offense for most of it. Then they finally find the back of the net for 12 shots.
Jeremy, I think it goes back to the point that you were making, just mental endurance. This is 10 straight minutes of high-stakes Rocket League in the grand finals. I think for the most part, we saw 2 teams that have just eschewed any sort of pressure. It's just like, I don't feel any nerves at all. Like, I'm just playing my very best game. But when you're in 5 minutes in overtime at the beginning of the series like that, that was just something's going to break sooner or later. And I'm really hoping that Rowan takes this moment to just recharge. It's like, all right, game 1's done. Let's just get into game 2.
And you did see the nerves take over, like, after the first minute in overtime, and you hit the nail on the head. It's like you start thinking about all the little details. Do I challenge? Do I not challenge? And you see that at every level, at the RLCS, in the Rival Series, in CRL, even in community tournaments. It doesn't matter. When you get into that length of overtime, teams turtle because they do not want to be the one to make the mistake that loses you that long overtime.
2 strong teams take it to overtime. 5 minutes in, Rensselaer's able to hold on, get ahead in the series. Can they keep the momentum?
And you also don't want to be the guy who missed the goal in overtime and ends up losing it. Corky gets bailed out, but Brian Bussey trying to dribble over everyone. Not able to, but Rowan on the attack first here.
And Professor Cab doing a lot of work here. He actually grabbed both boosts on the orange half. So Rensselaer going to be hurting here shortly. Rowan to take advantage. They're going to play it slow, make Rensselaer meet them on the challenge. And so far, Rowan are winning it. That shot's blocked right now in the corner, are almost all 3 members, but Gary's going to take this one away. Furain just kind of kicks this one away. Brian Bussey is going to be able to play it. He doesn't get the clear you maybe would have wanted, but he does get back to the ball in the challenge.
Yeah, Furain could have brought that ball down. He had a teammate on the wall coming back and accidentally hits this one back towards his teammate here, but for Professor Cab, who else, beaming down the field to make the play. And Rowan have been on the attack for quite a long while here, in control of this game. Coming off of a game where Rensselaer in a 5-minute overtime had a lot more chances.
And when you talk about you playing 10 minutes of Rocket League, Rowan, with all the pressure they did have in regulation, still only generated 6 shots on net in the first game compared to the 12 from Rensselaer. So they're definitely going to need more of that offense. And here's a loose ball right in front. Relax picks it up. He's by 1 defender. Flipping towards is Furain. Relax playing him close, but Gary does have it away.
And on that play there, Relax had Furain in front of him, and Furain kind of cut off the space. You feel like Relax should have kept that ball and have Furain either go to the midfield or just back off, but crowding the space is what really slowed down that attack.
Again, Rowan have to be careful in the corner over here. You do not want to get caught out. 1 solid touch towards midfield will be a difficult save to make. Professor Cab able to at least get the touch out. This is going to be good for Rowan. A demo going to open it up. He's got Brian Bussey, but there was no power on the shot or on the pass, and it's hard for Gary with no boost.
And still, Rowan has opportunities here, but not testing the defense of Rensselaer. And you've seen this a couple times now from Rensselaer. They kind of get out of their own half, but they give the ball away, and there's always that third man back for Rowan just to clean up the play and put him back on offense.
Yeah, and there really are so many times for Rensselaer where you just wish they would catch. But a boomer for Relax forces Brian Bussey up. He does make the save and does keep control. Oh, and he gets the dunk as well. And Relax. But gets it over Professor Cabbage, falling into the net. Brian Bussey, it looked like he might have had the angle, but the Engineers get the first goal.
Yeah, had time and space here, so he decides to pop it up and gets the second touch over the first defender there, and Brian Bussey goes up the wall, and it kind of messes up his attack, his approach onto it, and eventually goes in for Rensselaer.
Fadeaway jump shot from almost the half-court line. I see you out here, Steph Curry.
And hopefully a few more for Rensselaer if you're a fan. Furain, that shot on target, but Gary picks up the save and a crucial demo as well from Brian Bussey. And Rowan were so good at that in their previous series against Rutgers. They killed so many drives with that physical game. And why not go back to it here? Why not try to just jag up these rotations on the Engineers' side to try to force an opportunity and open a gap on the net?
For Rowan now, you look at the clock. You have a minute and a half left. You really got to start generating some quality chances moving down the field, and they've done a good job of keeping Rensselaer on the back foot, but again, find themselves down late in game 2.
Yeah, it's finding that, like you said, quality shot, and it feels like they've only gotten one, maybe two so far in the last about 4 minutes of gameplay. And if you want to even extend it further than that, really the last 7 or 8 minutes of gameplay. And Rensselaer have owned the pitch. They're hanging on to this 1-goal lead. Brian Bussey trying to control. Corky takes a complete advantage of the situation, and it's a hit up of Professor Cab, able to boom it back down to Brian Bussey. Now on the return, off the corner. It's hit back to the opposite side of the orange corner.
And Rensselaer get a free clear. That's actually a fantastic touch there from Corky to make Rowan think about the ball. It's actually just given back to Furain, but nobody in support there from Rensselaer. As Gary plays it straight out to Relax, saved away by Brian Bussey. And here comes Rowan. Professor Podcast one looking for the demo on the last defender. There is Brian Bussey, but cannot get it. Furain makes the save, but Gary comes through, and Rowan finally get one in the back of the net.
This is a great carry by Professor Cabin. Not only that, but also the harassment from Brian Bussey on the net, forcing the defender to have to rush the challenge, which ultimately leaves the net open for Gary. It's a 3-man play for Rowan. That's how you tie the game.
Professor Cab has been playing out of his mind so far this series, and it begs the question, like, where's Gary on offense? When he shows up, it's definitely at a welcome time, ties this game up.
And look, another bump again, throwing it in front of the box, and it Relax stands up. Furain is there to back him up, and still they have to get this one out. 15 seconds remaining. Brian Bussey's a headhunter right now, looking for anybody to feed his bumper. No one in sight. Rensselaer clear. Brian Bussey gets it back down to the back wall. Time will expire. The ball still in the air. Gary takes one last hit over to Professor Cab, and that shot is not in! That's about as good as a touch you could ask for Professor Cab.
Ooh. Well, we might want to buckle up here. We might be in for another 5-minute overtime. These two teams so well evenly matched.
Don't miss your shot, Corky, if it's open. And we will have a 5-minute overtime. And that goes for Rowan as well. Professor Cab. Back to the opposite side. Brian Bussey's there. Just goes the opposite field again. A demo as well. Stretching Rensselaer laterally, leaving the box wide open. Nobody from Rensselaer can find any kind of credence onto the ball. And still, Gary looking for a dunk. Corky plays it under him. Professor Cab from the third finds the touchdown. And Rensselaer with Relax. Well, there is no time for that. And Gary cannot pick this up. Picked it by Professor Cab. Brian Bussey wants to get in on that, but Furain had him beat by a mile. Rensselaer hang on for the first minute of overtime.
Rowan are doing two things very well. They're controlling the boost in the final third. Every single time we see a Rensselaer player, they've got nothing on the goal line, and they're being physical. You see, we've called it out a few times now. Brian Bussey not getting the save there as Furain coming off the ceiling, able to put that one away.
And right here, it's a great first touch by Furain. Gary, he's just caught on the back wall. That hits off the ceiling, and he's like, well, I can't really jump for this, and I couldn't see his boost there, but I can't imagine he had any on the play if he wasn't able to go for it. Typically, Gary is confident in those sorts of reads, and Rensselaer get the second game here again from a Furain goal. Clutch.
Rensselaer showed up since the very beginning of this series, and one of the things that I just keep thinking of is the interview we had with Gary, where he was like, as long as we play our game, I think we'll be fine. As far as being successful on that front, I don't think that they necessarily are. You kind of pointed out that they're a very aggressive team. They like to go for demos. They started to do that, and that's some of the best play they've looked. But Furain's still Furain. He's going to be able to get those shots.
Yeah, and for Rensselaer, they actually were under attack for a lot of this
for like
regular
4
time.
minutes.
For about 4 minutes or so, yeah, it was just really tough for them to break out. I pointed out that, they're just kind of playing the ball into pockets of space, but not really doing anything with it. And the third man for Rowan is just there to clean it up. But for Rensselaer, they're able to clutch up and win in overtime, and that's really all that matters.
Clutch tends to be pretty important in these single elimination best of sevens. Who knew? Right now, Rensselaer's up 2-0. Rowan's got to turn it around.
And Corky already up for this. It starts with that early drive from the engineers, Furain. And, still, for Rowan, as they work to try to clear this ball out of their own half, at the end of that game, they were working Rensselaer laterally on their own half. They were doing all the right things. They were stealing the boost, and they were making the touches on the opponent's back wall. And you know what they were missing, though? The shot. The shot was never there. And it goes to show you that, you can do all of these things right, but unless you are positioned for that shot, unless you can really whittle away the defense like that, that's why we talk about how important consistent pressure is. Because if you can't find the shot on the first go-around, you might on the second or the third. But the point is, the more go-arounds that you have, the more likely you are to score. And Rowan just couldn't put together the consistent possession, because yes, while they did control for the majority of the game, it was really like, okay, 1-2 tries and then back to their own half, and then 1-2 more tries and then back to their own half.
It's a great point, because I feel like the time of possession has been really short for both of the teams. There's just been a lot of pushing, a lot of challenging, and I think just for Rowan, they need to just pick up the speed and transition and try to beat them before Rensselaer can get back to the ball.
And Corky, this one is up high. Tries to get back to his own ball. Brian Bussey is there. And Rensselaer, these high balls out to the sidewall, they rarely work on the defensive end unless someone's immediately there to follow it up.
Now, so for Rowan now, trying to find their way out of their own end. Rensselaer on the attack, very comfortable in their final third. Not really able to find something. All of a sudden, Gary just pokes free, but he can't get the shot on target. Saved away by the last defender. An opportunity squandered for Gary as he couldn't get control of the ball.
Yeah, he couldn't get control, and not only that, part of the reason is he didn't have any boost. And it's really hard to get back control under the ball if you can't reposition in time. Relax carries it to the top, and Rensselaer take the early lead.
And I like what Relax does here. He gets his first touch, but he doesn't immediately follow up the ball. He kind of sits behind it, and then that second touch is what puts it right over that last defender, just enough to find the back of the net.
Rowan, the chances that they've had have been few, so to miss out on a goal opportunity and then give up a goal yourself has to be deflating, but they just have to have short-term memory, get back to playing the game like they like to approach it, see if they can keep moving forward.
And to your point, it's really a testament to the engineers and their ability to control the resources, because Gary has a little bit of boost on that ball and he'll be able to control it. But because he was forced to push up with really little boosts, it really forced the issue. And so it's those little things. They pay dividends, maybe not immediately, but in the ensuing possession, Brian Bussey has everybody beat on Rensselaer in the corner. Rowan tied up.
Yeah, a little slow to react here from the defense of Rensselaer coming off the corner. You see Corky not really respecting the shot, and neither of the last two defenders there on the goal line. And it's really a free shot from Brian Bussey. Great placement, pace on the ball, tough to save, and Rowan tie it up.
Picking it up in transition. That's what I was hoping to see out of Rowan. Brian's like, I can do this myself. I got to get us back into this series. Let's go.
And it hasn't been too often that they've been able to catch Corky in a position like that where, he really is in a rock and a hard place on that challenge. So definitely a great job by Rowan to take advantage of the situation. But still, less than 2 minutes to go. Maybe a third straight overtime. Just with the flow of this series, it's been difficult to really get much consistent offense going for either side.
And Rowan now sitting at a minute and a half left. Would love to get a game on the board as they've gone to overtime twice now. And this one,
oh my.
is just going to go in for Gary. He's just got to tap it in, and Rowan, as soon as I say it, they get the lead.
Yeah, so I believe the bump happened on the back end by Brian Bussey. He got Corky out of the way initially. Corky was just sitting right in front of the line, ready for it. He's like, all right, come at me, Gary, let's go. And Brian Bussey came from behind and said, see you later.
It definitely felt like he was going for the demo or the bump. He comes away with that, and then Gary's like, get out of the way, man. I'm trying to score.
Relax, flip, reset, and he gets it right back.
He got it. He's gone for it a couple times here, and he finally sets it up right. He gets under the ball, gets that flip out just on the side of his car, and Professor Cab can't react to it. It's a beautiful play from Relax to tie it up.
If you were worried about Rensselaer's chances of staying in this game, they got
Forgot
one
about
word
Relax.
for you. Relax.
You forgot about Relax. Oh, but that shot's in for Professor Cab. Rowan are known for being able to score off the kickoff. They do so again right here.
It's a great kickoff, and it's a great cheat from Gary, and a pass that comes straight out to from Professor Cab.
You got it.
Not Crab. And it's everyone committed on the play as well. They had the kickoff, he had the pass from Gary. Everyone passed half field immediately off the kickoff. So a dangerous play from Rowan, but it pays off.
For a team that's been just facing an absolute drought of opportunities, it's pretty wild for them to be able to get so much of a response off the break. With these kickoffs, they're back.
I know we don't really have defined roles in Rocket League, but Brian Bussey is really trying to make a case for himself as enforcer of Rowan. He just keeps getting bumps, he keeps getting demos, and he's gonna maybe get another goal for Rowan. Rensselaer, they'd love to take it to match point. They'd love to get this tying goal. Professor Cab, oh, that's just a giveaway to the offense of Rensselaer, and what a touch, are you kidding me? That's in the net, Gary!
Gary is the man for Rowan right now, and I have to go back to Corky's shot there. Put that one on target. It's straight at Gary, and he makes a wonderful touch down the field. Nobody can react from Rensselaer, and Gary gets away with one there.
From downtown. Insurance, great for Rowan University. For Rensselaer, it's just like sometimes that's just going to happen. You kind of have to ignore those.
Yeah, those pinches, yeah. Good luck. and this is so big for Rowan. And again, I like that they're sticking to their guns. And oh, maybe an opportunity here just off the corner. 15 seconds left. A great bump. And Rensselaer have afforded themselves 15 long seconds to tie this game up.
They've definitely given themselves a chance. That's a huge bump from Relax. Throws Professor Cab out of the way, and Corky's just got to put that one away. Rensselaer, 15 seconds here at game number 3 to tie it up.
That bump's a tilter right there. It's just like, hey, I'm in perfect position. I've done everything right. You just make the play. Rensselaer can even it up.
Needs a better clear from Gary on the play. Off the back wall is Corky. Up is Relax. Off the backboard. Does he have another touch? It's straight down and still hanging in the air. It's a bouncy ball in front of the box. Gary finally kills it. Rowan hang on, but not for lack of trying from the Engineers.
25 cars bumped by Brian Bussey there in that game.
I'm telling you, he's just enforcer.
The man throwing everyone around, and 11 shots coming out from Rowan, 6 saves on the side of Rensselaer. So Rowan definitely had the better of the offense here in this game. And for Rensselaer, it's a couple mistakes. There was a couple shots where I felt like they could have had another goal. There was a couple defensive blunders where I feel like they could have had some saves. So some things to work on here in game number 3 for Rensselaer.
We were hoping to see some aggressive offense. We're hoping to see a bit more demos, and Brian's like, I got you covered. One of the things that's really interesting, though, is the last goal that Rowan scores is that squeeze off the back wall. And you would think, like, okay, that's insurance. But to still just win by 1, it's like, all right, maybe we kind of got away with 1. So giving up that goal at the end, I think concedes a lot of the momentum that they developed by winning that game.
I would completely agree with that. But one thing that I like that Rowan has done in this series is since game 1, and give credit to almost a Rensselaer goal, but give credit to Brian Bussey for sticking to his plan, and that's just, no matter what, if you have the chance to play physical, you go for it. If you know you're not going to screw your team up on the rotation, go for the demo, go for the bump. And it didn't net them a win in the first 2 games, but it was absolutely instrumental in them getting their first win of the series, and Professor Cab keeps things rolling for Rowan.
And that's the offense from Rowan that we know and love to see. Gary off the back wall, uncontested, and then Professor Cab just getting up. He's been so speedy down the field for Rowan, and he finds another goal here.
More and more impressive, Brian, the more I see him. Did you see that parkour display in the corner? corner to be able to set that shot up.
But even
crazy stuff.
Even more impressive was Gary. Like, he had to be quick to that ball because that challenge was not slow by Rensselaer at all. But Gary was already up for it. And so, really, it was just fantastic effort from all three players on Rowan and really showcasing the full team potential in Rocket League and what happens when all three of your players are clicking so well together.
So it's up to Rensselaer now to answer back. Rowan definitely showing signs of life here. Things are just clicking as that one goes off the back wall. The offense looking better and better. This one's got to be put away by Professor Cab, and he finally does. Rowan get everyone involved, and they find another goal.
They force everybody out on this play. Professor Cab makes it tough for Furain off the read from Brian Bussey, and then it just sends Corky into a tailspin, and Rensselaer had no answer for it. Rowan, insurance goal this early with the way this series has gone the first 3 games, it's big.
We're seeing both a Rowan University surging, finding momentum, and a Rensselaer who is struggling to get back into the series. Rowan's starting to find holes in his defense, and they're capitalizing.
Furain, well defended and well followed by Brian Bussey on the play. Rowan have just picked up the speed in general and not letting Rensselaer really phase them even after that comeback, that potential comeback from game number 3. They really just didn't let it stutter their step at all, and they just continue to fire. And look here, threatening. You force 2 defenders up on the back wall. You don't want that if you're Rensselaer, and it's difficult right now. As you see, it's just chaos, and everyone's trying to get set on the line. They don't have time because as soon as they do get back, they're not even turned around. The ball's already headed towards their net.
And that's really what constant pressure does to a defense. It forces panic saves, panic flips.
He's got it.
Use of boost when you don't have it. A flip from Brian, and the follow-up from Gary is beautiful. Rowan looking good here in game 4.
Saw Brian go up for this, knew he had the first touch. It was just a matter of the follow-up, and Gary, true to form, he's always there. He's always there.
Furain wipes off that bead of sweat once he sees the ball go off the backboard, and he's like, that was almost the goal. And Gary's like, but wait, there's more. 3-0 Rensselaer.
And now my big question to you, Corelli, is for Rensselaer. The first 3 games of this set looked much different. They didn't go down this hard. And what's been killing them? What's been killing them the most from this Rowan offense that has just exploded now? And they may be getting a 4th goal here.
Inconsistent defense right now. You see there that ball going over Relax's head. Gary having another goal here to himself. Furain, a light clear out, and it's not horrible, but they have no follow-up, and Gary just puts it on target. You can see Relax not even close to it. And Jorby, to your question, that is your answer right there. Inconsistent defense, letting in weak shots there. Rensselaer have got to clean up their goal line.
A replay's worth 1,000 words. You wanted the answer, Exhibit A.
And it really is, again, I'll give credit to Rowan all day here. Specifically, and Lauren, you gave credit to Professor Cab, but I just got to shout out Gary yet again. I mean, he's not there on these follow-ups. Half of these opportunities don't even materialize to begin with. And sometimes he's been the closer. Other times he's been that 8th inning pitcher, the setup man for his team. What's the result? A 4-0 lead with 2 minutes left in game number 4. Professor Cab trying to play it slow. And Rensselaer, they had 1 heroic comeback attempt, but the lead was much smaller. And so maybe even with this much time left, you think they're thinking about game 5 at this point. They did buy themselves some buffer room with those first 2 overtime wins. Since then, though, it's been a slow uptick in Rowan's direction. That one's in again. Gary, Brian Bussey, and Professor Cab clicking like a well-oiled machine.
Very late challenge there on Brian Bussey's shot, and Rowan's just sending one player after another in perfect rotation, and every single player is making impact when they get to the ball. Not only are they making contact, but they're putting shots on target, and they're making Rensselaer make the saves.
A 5-goal deficit puts this one pretty much out of reach, and this offers Rensselaer time to regroup, rally, figure out what they need to do differently, and find proof of concept.
It's just such a great play by Professor Cab. Carried that the whole way. He beat 2 defenders. The first one, it was just kind of a flip out to the side, but then he positioned himself onto the sidewall, putting himself above the Rensselaer defender in midfield. And why that's so important is because now the defender only has one option to try to clear it, and that's to really try to force it through your car. And when you have height advantage like that, you can just kind of sandwich it on top of their car, and you'll win that challenge 9 times out of 10.
So 50 seconds left for Rensselaer, but it's really all but over at this point. Very tough to come back down by 5, and the pressure just still on from Rowan. You're seeing that offense that we've talked about, we've seen in other series. It's shining here against Rensselaer.
And Rensselaer, 2 players pushing up, trying to force the issue. Granted, we're pretty much in, it's no man's time, if you will, with 20 seconds left down by 5 goals, but a couple of times they've tried to push up with little to no boost, and that's not to the fault of Rensselaer. That's just to the credit of Rowan's ability to control the pitch. We saw Rowan do that in every game in this series so far. The major difference has been putting the shot on net, or making the shot at all. This time, it's almost like every shot that they made went in. And when you're that accurate, when you're that clinical, when every player is making Corelli, like you said, an impactful touch onto the ball, the result is Rowan 5-0 tie series.
So many momentum swings over the course of this series. It's crazy to watch. That was the Rowan show from beginning to end. But what's most impressive to me is that there's no star player for Rowan in this series. Everyone is stepping up in their way. You think, who's the star player?
Gary. Gary's the star player for me. And to your point, Brian Bussey and Professor Cab have absolutely contributed a lot. But Gary, especially in that game that will tie the series up, I mean, he had 3 goals, 2 assists, and made a couple of saves as well. Early in the series, he kept Rowan in games by standing up and making great saves. Gary is the MVP for me right now for Rowan. And again, Brian Bussey, Professor Cap, they have played extremely well, but Gary just a tier above.
Strong argument. Corelli, how does Rensselaer jump back into the series?
Well, they got to clean up the defense, and second of all, too, is the second big thing is you got to put shots on target and get out of your own end and force the offensive chances that we know that Rensselaer has. Even if it takes a solo play from Relax to get things going, Rowan has really not had to play too much defense here in the last 2 games.
That's a really good point. Let's see if Rensselaer is going to be able to hear you and make these adjustments. Game 5 underway.
Oh, that's a big miss from Corky, and Furain forced to come back in. Player to watch for you, Corelli, for Rensselaer. This one, Furain picks up the save.
It has to be Relax. I mean, he's the guy who's been making the big plays, and I like to see him on defense, but we haven't really seen anyone go on offense for Rensselaer.
That fusion dance there up mid from Rowan makes me think they might be a little too confident right now.
And you can understand why. I mean, they're still winning these challenges, and Professor Cab has plenty of time here on the 3rd to do what he wants. It just, I mean, that touch was solely just to buy time for Gary and Brian Bussey to go get boost. And it's just been the Rowan show on the pitch. And when you talk about being able to clear the ball out of your own half, well, Rensselaer have to find a way just to control their own boost. They do right there, and they're able to boom it away. The net's wide open. Ooh. They catch Rowan sleeping, and Rensselaer finally on the board.
And this could be huge for Rensselaer as they do finally score here after getting blown out in the last game and nobody home from Rowan. No one thought that Corky was going to throw it downfield and especially on target, but this is huge for Rensselaer.
It's very easy to want to continue to play forward once you start blowing out your opposition and roar back into a best-of-7, but sometimes you leave the gate open for a shot to go across the field.
Oh, not the best touch from Gary, but you know what? Calculated pass. And Gary can't get back to that. He's got no boost. Relax wasn't ready for it. Corky wasn't ready for it, and Furain has to bail his whole team out. And that's not a good touch from Furain either. The touches aren't here for Rensselaer, and with or without boost, you have to make a solid touch onto the ball. And it's played out to the side again. Corky, can he get things going for the Engineers?
And I've talked about Rensselaer cleaning up the defense and going back to the offensive pressure. But I think really the biggest thing too is keeping possession of the ball. Right now, they're just trying to stay afloat with the pressure that they're having from Rowan right now. And these big clears are just to space, and nobody from Rensselaer is able to follow up.
And another shot. Furain looks like he was called off at the last second by Corky, trying to play it out to the corner. Relax gets bumped on the play. He still gets back to the ball. Almost makes the save. Actually, he does make the save as it bounces off the post. Relax says, gravity, please save me. And it does. Rensselaer retain their lead.
sign this corner post up. It deserves a scholarship after that. It definitely got involved to keep the score 1-0.
And Rensselaer really got bailed out there with that clear as Rowan were closing in an opportunity, and a lot of players on the Rensselaer side were low on boost. This is the opportunity now. It's just Gary back for Rensselaer. They've got to constrict the offense, or excuse me, the defense of Rowan and get back onto offense.
Oh, that shot's in for Corky. He found the gap as both players on Rowan were rotating backside, and Rensselaer get a much-needed insurance goal.
And this is a great passing play from Relax to Corky, but it's been these long shots from Rensselaer just catching out the Rowan defense right now, not really breaking them down, but just taking advantage of missed rotations.
Absolute howitzer from midfield from Corky. That's one way to stop the offense. Just never give them a chance to challenge you. Just one quick touch, shoot at the net.
Well, Rowan, as much as we've been talking to their credit and talking to Rensselaer's detriment, it's Rensselaer with a 2-goal lead. Talk about only catching Rowan out of defense, but at the end of the day, the defense has held up, even if it was just a heroic from falling right into the ball and the fourth man, the post, being your savior. Rensselaer threatening to take it to match point, and it could be the stopper. Even though Rowan, their pressure still continues. Their pressure is good, but the issues from games 1 and 2 are starting to creep back up. They're not finding the shot. Rensselaer are shutting that down, and they've taken advantage of them trying to force the issue and get that first goal.
Yeah, and Rensselaer have done better on defense, but it's still certainly not there. Rowan have still been able to have these long offensive tries and a lot of free balls. I see a Relax going up for that one. That's much better from the defense. But for Rowan, this game kind of feels like you really didn't get outplayed. It was just that Rensselaer kind of caught you off guard twice, and you find yourself down by 2.
And still, Rowan are hunting for that first goal. They'll need one with some time left. There's Brian Bussey looking for Gary. Gary's got it. Straight down to Professor Cab, who made contact with the ball. And now Gary back over to Professor Cab. That's going to be giving up possession as Furain pops it over him. It looked promising on the assault from Rowan. They weren't able to capitalize, and instead Rensselaer killed the drive.
Now 20 seconds left for Rowan. They're just trying to score with time left. But Rensselaer doing a good job just slowing it down. Look how many seconds are wasted by that one touch. Gary going under 1. Professor Cab might find the back of the net, saved by Corky. 7 seconds left on the clock, and Rowan, it might just be over here as this ball is just got to touch the ground, and 1 second left on the clock. It's impossible for Rowan to come back now. Rensselaer going to take game number 5 in a kind of shocking fashion, really, because, again, felt like Rowan outplayed him, but Rensselaer scored more goals.
And this is one of those situations where it's like you put in so much effort, you put in so much time, and you don't come away with the reward, the goal. It goes back to that question of mental endurance. Are we going to be able to keep up?
9 shots from Rowan, 2 from Rensselaer. Two shots, 2 goals for Rensselaer, 9 shots, 0 goals for Rowan.
So 0% accuracy versus 100% accuracy gives me a Rensselaer victory.
And it's so interesting because Rowan had built up such a head of steam over the course of games 3 and 4. I think a turning point was when they were caught off guard by that first goal, when they just played too far forward and one gets sent across the field. They looked like an entirely different team from there. Do you think they lost some confidence?
Well, I think that, so first of all, Rensselaer definitely caught them out. But for Rowan, it was more about how many chances did you have that you didn't put away.
Exactly.
And the defense wasn't that strong from Rensselaer. It was just that Rowan couldn't find the back of the net.
Yeah, not until the last minute. The last minute, Rensselaer absolutely kicked up the defensive effort, but completely agree.
Game number 6, potentially Rowan's last, unless they can force out game number 7. We've seen last game series all week in the Eastern region. Let's see if Rowan can pull it off one more time.
And it would be fitting for the Eastern Conference to end with a Game 7 grand final. Rowan look to start it right here. No! Corky! The ball completely highlighted in the net. Denied are Rowan.
And still the attack on Gary trying to pop this one up. It's just Corky in the net. Another weak clear comes out. Professor Cab's going to make a pay to the upper corner, and Rowan finally get it away.
Yeah, this is a good touch first by Gary. Corky, he's got to get a better touch on this ball. He has to get it away from Professor Cab, who really put himself in the best position to cover the entire right hash.
Great effort there by Rowan to continue to apply pressure, because that ball could not be any further in the net without registering as a goal than what we just saw.
And it's really, really big for Rowan after getting shut out in game number 4, or game number 5, excuse me. Oh, Corky getting bumped down from Brian Bussey, and you know, that's actually something that I don't think we talked about at all in game number 5, is that there was seemingly no physical play from Rowan for the majority of that game. After that first goal, Lauren, that you had mentioned, they kind of stepped back a little bit and they got away from their game.
I 100% agree. It just seems like they gave up on what got them this far into the bracket. Go for those demos, get back to aggressive play to win. They're just playing to not lose. That's how it felt last game, at least.
And so now it's up to Rensselaer. How do they make a change here on their defensive side of things? Because really last game, even though they won, they didn't look too hot. It was really just Rowan missing their chances, as Relax has another opportunity there. But this is their chance now to really constrict the defense. You can see Gary and Brian Bussey kind of waiting for the shots to come through from Rensselaer. There's another missed opportunity as Fiorane can't connect. Corky's still trying to keep this attack on, but the defense so organized from Rowan that Rensselaer can't break it.
And when you're at this point at match point and you're at game 6, this is crunch time now. And when you're at crunch time, and especially after the first 2 games of the set went to overtime, you've played 1 extra game of Rocket, almost 1.5 extra games of Rocket League. It's gonna get tiring from game 6 onward. Players, you're just gonna be slower on the outset just because of how long the series has been, and especially for Rowan. Professor Cab almost does it himself, but Rowan have played 2 straight series in a row, best of 7. Granted, the first one they really cleaned up as quickly as they could, but it's draining.
To further highlight that point, it's exacerbated by the idea that they effectively are on game 7 right now with how long that overtime took at the very beginning of the series.
Yeah, I mean, this is it for them. They have to win this game if they want a chance at Minneapolis. Rowan trying to force this ball out on the blue half, and Gary just completely misses the ball there. Fiorane whiffs, picking it up is Relax. Caught him, made him whiff. The Daisy Jukes. Rensselaer tie it up.
And this is my player. If Rensselaer are going to win this series, he's got to step up big. He goes up because he comes back down, excuse me, as he knows his teammate's up. And the ball lands in his lap, and a quick cut to the right side, and Relax ties up the game with 2 minutes left.
How about a magic trick? I've been most impressed with Rensselaer when they do these fancy dribbling antics and just head fake their opponents. They're back to playing full 100% Rocket League.
Gary can't do much, but he does get the boost on the return. Brian Bussey buys some time for Gary. Back up to this ball. It's high off the backboard, but Professor Cab was expecting a touch a little further out to midfield. He didn't get it. It's a double commit by Rensselaer, but when you find Fiorane, you really just put yourself in a good position. But it's just a good clear, excuse me, by Rowan to really negate what would have been a quick drive for Rensselaer.
And you kind of think about the status of the game right now. We're tied up, and if this were to go to overtime, a lot more of the pressure is on Rowan, because Rensselaer has a game to give as that one goes off the crossbar from Professor Cab, and actually Brian Bussey goes up for it, leaves no one to follow up from Rowan now as Rensselaer does get it away. But again, Rensselaer do have a game to give, so the longer this game stays tied, more of the pressure is on Rowan.
And Professor Cab, if this stays 1-1, heading into overtime, he's going to want that shot back because the net was wide open. He had to be up quick for it, but that's a read he has to have. If you're in this situation in game 6 and you're tied up trying to force game 7, that's a shot you have to make. And Rowan still hunting. Brian Bussey expecting a touch. It forces a double commit by Rowan. Panic on the defensive end allows Corky to come in. Back on the other side, or excuse me, Relax. Brian Bussey picks this up, but it's only out to Fiorane. It's a wide open net with 30 seconds left. Rensselaer have the poison in hand.
And Rowan are really hurting. You can see the boost cheat there on the left side of the screen as Professor Cab can't get back. He went for boost instead, and Rensselaer get a goal ahead here with 30 seconds left.
A breakdown in communication at one of the most inopportune times puts Rensselaer in a position where they are less than a minute now from punching their ticket and going to Minnesota.
And here come Rowan on the backside. That goal is in for Professor Cab. It took them not 12 seconds. They have a tie game. Rensselaer out of sorts.
And just as you thought you were going to lose the series, Professor Cab gets you back into it. With 30 seconds left, he scores immediately on the response. Rowan back in it here in Game 6.
Never say die attitude coming out of Rowan University right now. 30 seconds, all we need to at the very least force out a potential overtime.
Professor Cab looking for the touch straight out towards the box, and Corky has to force it out. Gary's there. Brian Bussey has to be the next man to follow it up because Gary's out of juice. Furain, he beats the defense. That is going to kill a ton of time. Does Rensselaer have one more play on the ball? Gary kills it. We got overtime in Game 6.
Smart from Gary to kill it, but now into overtime. And like I said, a lot more of the pressure here on Rowan. They've got to win this game.
Get a goal, keep your chances alive if you're Rowan. Get a goal, you're on your way to Minnesota for Rensselaer. Who wants it more?
Touch out. Gary's got this one. It forces Furain back to make this touch. He gets a good one. A clanger off his own backboard, and missing that one is Professor Cab, forcing everyone back. Brian Bussey off the pass from Professor Cab, still up and knocked down. Professor Cab on the transition! Rowan are denied a goal! Furain, the pitch off the post, the hero Rensselaer needs!
Just threw his car out there on the flip and gets the save and the pinch, more importantly, to get the ball out of his end and send his team on offense.
Quick transition now for Rowan. Just kidding, Corky's there to send it back to the blue hat. Professor Cab, he's looking for Gary. Instead, he finds Furain. Furain has to give way for Brian Bussey, and now Rowan looking for a quick shot. Brian Bussey catching this out, just trying to stop Corky. Corky now, it's a race back. He beats Professor Cab to the ball, but Gary's there to pick it up. Back on the transition, Gary's got relaxed feet, and Rowan forced Game 7 with Gary, Professor Cab, Brian Bussey. They do it.
Could it go any other way than the East region forcing out game number 7? Rowan, they build up a head of steam. They start to fall behind, but when they need it most, Gary, Jorby, I get why you said he's your MVP. He's showing up when you need him.
1 goal, an assist, 4 saves, and 6 shots for Gary here in this game, and it's an impressive one for Rowan. After going down in 30 seconds left, they get a goal in 13 seconds and then force the overtime, and the overtime win with a fantastic play from Gary. Special plays from Rowan keep them in this series and force a 7th game.
The last minute of these games tonight have been spicy, to say the very least. I'm very impressed with Rowan's ability to just maintain. They are coming off of a long series, and then to deal with those long overtimes, to have this absolute marathon, to have the clutch capability to just find those opportunities this late into a series, you gotta like it.
Are we ready for Game 7?
They're ready for Game 7. Let's get it.
Rowan University, Rensselaer, Polytechnic Institute, 1 game and you're in the land. Who's on their way to spring finals? We'll find out.
And if you're Rensselaer right now, you know you had it. With 30 seconds left, you had the lead and ended up giving it right back 12 seconds later at the end of regulation. Gary up high. Rensselaer are looking for redemption in game number 7. They want to punch their ticket to Minneapolis. They have fought the first 2 games of the set. It looks like it was theirs, but Rowan were still knocking on the door. Rowan fought right back to tie the series up. Rensselaer took it to match point in game after game number 5. And here we are now, sitting at game number 7 after Rowan's performance. Late game heroics.
And right now, we're seeing a lot of pressure from Rensselaer. Not something we've seen in the last couple games. It's a good start for them, but again, nothing really dangerous coming out. The Rowan defense still staying very organized.
And a quick pass to Corky is blocked by Gary and Brian Bussey, but the right is wide open for Relax, and Rensselaer pick up the first goal.
And the double kick does come out from Rowan, but they make the save, but it leaves the net open for Relax to come through and tap it in. Rensselaer get the first goal of the game.
Points off the rebound. Rensselaer, some of the best in the East region that you'll find being able to do that. Not at all shocked to see a follow-up shot hit the net.
And no matter what happens here, you just can't count out. No matter how much time's left, you can't count Rowan out of the equation until that clock hits 0.
And even then.
And even then. And it's just been so back and forth here. Neither team has really been trying to play possession all that much. It's just been, we're going to boom this ball down the field. And you can understand why, because Rensselaer off the crossbar. Furain, he had it, but tough off the bounce.
He had it, and you really want that one back. Getting a 2-goal lead here with 3 minutes left in the game definitely puts the pressure on Rowan to make plays happen, but here we are sitting still, Rensselaer up by 1.
And you can feel the exhaustion from both teams. It's not just Rowan double committing, it's not just Rensselaer double committing, but early in this series, you didn't see any of that from either team. And now that we are in the late stages of this series, it's Rensselaer with Furain off the pass from Relax, forces the bad touch, 2-0 for the Engineers.
Yeah, it's a poor touch, but it's a good pass from Corky to Relax there, and Brian Bussey just gives it up to Furain. Rensselaer looking stronger and stronger here in Game 7, up by 2.
When you have these long-running series, you start to rely on things like muscle memory. And how many times have we seen Relax and Furain make a pass to the other, and then the other one tags the back of the net? 2-0, not touche.
And with how defensive this series has been, this 2-goal lead for Rensselaer is so big. You got about half the game left. And Relax off the ceiling, able to pick this one up. And Rowan, Brian Bussey needs to find a way to control that out. He had the space to do it. And again, we've been talking about possession there. That's a great pass out towards the box, but Professor Cab did not want to commit. He thought Rensselaer were going to try to throw it back out. And Rensselaer moved back down the pitch. There's a hit down there for Gary, but it is played out to the corner. Relax. Just going to let it play by as he picks up the boost.
And Rowan really not looking like themselves moving down the field anymore. Don't see Brian Bussey doing the things he did before, pushing the cars around and getting demos. We're not seeing Professor Cab being first to the ball. We're seeing a lot of balls like this one being thrown into the corners of Rensselaer and Rowan trying to deal with it afterwards. But the defense has definitely been cleaned up on the Engineer side. And Furain and Relax been a huge offensive threat late in this series.
When Rowan do get on the offensive end, they're looking for passes that aren't there. It's the third time Professor Cab ended up dumping it off to the box with nobody from Rowan even close to being able to commit on the play, and it just ends up being a boomer for Rensselaer. It's 1:30 left. Time has sped up for Rensselaer, and Rowan are like, where did the time go? As they're still trying to fight back from 2-0. It could have been a good start, but Corky was up quickly. And we talk about 2 games ago in game number 5, Rensselaer's defense was really nothing to bark about. But they've, like you said, Corelli, they have absolutely cleaned it up. They've met the challenge on Rowan every single time. And look at Relax there, almost getting the pass out to Corky on the transition. Professor Cab can't get there. He stays under one, pops it over another. All it needs is the finish, but nobody from Rowan is there.
Nobody's got boost to move down the field, and for Rowan, it's at this point just trying to score with time less than a minute, and you're down by 2.
Every second that passes, game number 7, you got to think, you lose this game, it's a long wait to fall. You win the game, you're going to land, everything's on the line right now. Rensselaer has to feel great about their chances to secure that spot.
Rowan finding themselves on the bad side of Kronos. The god of time ticks the clock down. Every second matters for Rowan. For Rensselaer, every clear is 5-6 more seconds off the clock. This could be it. No, Furain kills the ball. He controls here. He's by Professor Cab. He killed 10 seconds on his own. And with this amount of time left, Rowan need to score with time on the clock. Gary gonna try here across the box. It's not gonna do it. Rensselaer fought tooth and nail. They go to Minneapolis.
Finally, we get a team that we've seen in CRL before. We have competed in league play. They've done it in probably the most painful fashion against Rowan, and credit to them. They put up a great fight after going down early, but Rensselaer, they're going to Minneapolis.
And it's well earned. I mean, it comes right down to the wire in true East Region fashion, but you still have to give it up to Rowan University. They definitely showed up big time over the course of the season. You lose one game and you're out of the finals. That's how far you're able to take it. You got to feel good about that. But still, you know the competitors in them, they wanted that game.
It just, that entire game 7, it felt like Rowan were out of gas.
Yeah.
It just, they did not look on point. Earlier in that series, I pointed out so many times that Gary was so quick to the ball, so quick quick as the second man, and it was never there in Game 7 for them. When it looked like they may have been able to put something together, give credit to the Engineers defense. They played outstanding in Game 7.
Having that depth is also a championship quality. Let's take a look at the bracket as it has now been decided. We have 3 teams on their way to Minnesota. You look at the overall bracket, how many Game 5s and 7s have we seen? We were talking about East Region being one of the most contested. Look at that picture. That says it all.
There's 4 right there, and Rensselaer, part of 2 of them, went to Game 7 twice. So, yeah, not an easy road for Rensselaer here, but they do finally get it done. And we've been saying it all week, and we're going to say it one more time. The East region is absolutely the most competitive. Very close games across the board. Really didn't really matter what seed you were. It was tough to take down any of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And this doesn't even tell the whole story of the bracket, as it doesn't include the other 8 teams. On day 1, our first 4 games were 5-game sets. So it just, again, it could have been anybody's day. And that's the beauty of single elimination, is you get a matchup like Rensselaer versus Rowan in the grand final, because they showed up and they played.
Rensselaer, an amazing team. It makes me think of when Corky's like, I really worked on improving myself. I want to do better next year. Oh, there's a spring season. This is my opportunity to show up and say, hey, I am a better player. And he's definitely stepped up to the ranks of Furine, and he's definitely just added to the overall team. But now that we do have a team that is selected out of the East region, we can start to make these comparisons. I'm starting to think of the Redlands Bulldogs. I'm starting to think of the UCF Knights. How do you see this team stacking up against the likes of the South and the West region?
Man, that is a really hard question. And
is it?
I think it is, because for Redlands Bulldogs, we really haven't seen too much of them. But they did take down the Arizona Wildcats, so it's like, okay, they have that in their basket. And UCF looked very dominant coming out of the South. And then you have this team, Rensselaer, a team that we have seen before, and a team that really fought tooth and nail throughout this bracket. I think that the experience that they went through in the Eastern Conference will pay off in the grand finals in Minneapolis against those other 2 teams.
That's fair. You absolutely make a great argument there, and I think that for me, the UCF Knights are still the favorite out of the 3 teams that we have, just the way they play. But I mean, come on, this is it's ridiculous. We're getting a lot of good teams to Minneapolis.
I think it's going to be really hard to predict. I feel like Rensselaer is making the strong argument for themselves. Question for you. Okay, I'll start with you, Jorby, and then I'm going to ask the same thing to you. Your coach, Jorby, you're coaching Rensselaer. They win. They're on their way to Minnesota. What do you have them work on right now to be ready for the finals?
Possession, and recognizing when you have space and when you have the time to be able to dribble the ball, because dribbling always will give you a chance, will give your team a chance. You have 2 other players behind you. So if you're going to take point and the defense is giving you space, utilize the space. Don't just give up the play. It shows you the difference between good teams and great teams. Great teams utilize the space that they have. They make defenders miss, and that's how they generate chances.
I definitely like that idea. Corelli, I'm going to ask you the same thing. You're Coach Corelli. You're the coach of Rensselaer. They just win the grand finals, Game 7. They're on their way to Minnesota. What do you want them to work on the most to be ready for the finals?
2 things. Number 1, stop being a goofball on defense. Get it out of your end. Number 2, shoot the ball on target. We've criticized them throughout the entirety of their run here, and while they did end up winning, you're going to be playing the best of the best in the other conferences, so you got to clean up your defense, and you've got to put shots on target.
I definitely agree with you. It's definitely been one of the criticisms that we had of this team. But we do have Corky on the line here, who's definitely feeling pretty good about his chances going into the fall or into the finals. Corky, congratulations. It goes to game number 7. You guys start to rally back. Let me know what comms were like, especially around game 5 as you guys started to reestablish yourselves in the series.
Right. So I don't know, that game 5 was like probably my best game I'll ever play. I mean, I had that boomer and then that shot off the pass. I mean, we were just, those first 2 games were down. We won the 2, and I think we started to kind of relax a little bit and get a little less focused. But, we just had to adjust and, focus up.
And Corky, now that you are the Eastern champion, you know that you're going to be going against the Western and the Southern conferences so far, Redlands Bulldogs and UCF. Just from those 2 teams, who are you most scared of?
Well, the only one I've talked to is Snipes, so I don't really know, honestly. They're both really good teams, Redlands beat the defending champs, so probably them. But Snipes is a really cool dude, so they're both really good teams, though.
And Corky, we all gave our thoughts on what we think you guys need to work on, but sometimes the players know best as far as what they need to work on for their team. So I'm going to ask you, heading to Minneapolis, what's the main thing the three of you are going to work on to try to secure yourself this championship?
Yeah, definitely accuracy. I think we're probably one of the best teams at hitting the posts. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
I think, we will just scrim a lot, and just play hard, play a ton of games, practice for, LAN.
Corky, championship quality play. Question I have for you is, it goes to Game 7 against Rowan University. Let's say you see them in the fall. Do you feel there's something of a rivalry forming there between you and their team?
Sure, totally. I mean, those guys, they were so connected. I think they were one of the best team. They had some of the best team play out of any of the teams. Gary was really, really good. All of them were really good. So. I don't know, maybe a little bit of a rivalry coming up in the we'll see.
Maybe we'll see. Corky, what I want you to do is after this interview, just sit back for a moment and be like, I improved. And this is the result. You've made it to the grand finals. We'll see you there in Minnesota. Congratulations, man. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you. And I got a paper to finish up right now.
Oh.
So.
Yeah,
he secures his spot to land, and he's like, got a paper to finish.
Yeah, stay in school. That'll pay you dividends late in life.
To his point, it's hitting the crossbar. Some call it the Collegiate Rocket League. Others call it Crossbar Rocket League. There's been a lot of crossbars hit here in the CRL if we go back to last season, and Rensselaer is still kind of trying to shake off that infection that we saw in the last season. So either way, they made it to the end, and I'm happy to see that he's criticizing himself on the same things. You got to put the shots on target, and that's a good thing. Recognizing your mistakes and changing them will pay off.
For sure. Improvement definitely has defined that team. But Twitch chat, let's see if you were right on the last game of the East. Let's take a look. Rowan University came in there with a lot of momentum. Definitely made an argument for themselves. It goes to game number 7. But we're like, maybe Rensselaer's not getting the respect they might deserve off the Twitch polls. And they're going to the final.
How are you doing, Mr. Rowan alumni?
I was waiting for this question. I was waiting for this question
shambles.
from one of you. And I'm going to take a moment to say I'm proud of myself for being able to be unbiased and not really inject too much. I texted my sister. I was like, hey, Rowan University, they're in the grand final. She was like, yeah, let's go Rowan. Yeah. So it goes down to game number 7. But there's still one more region to go. Next week, we'll see the North. Use hashtag CRL19. Let us know your thoughts about that. 3 teams now have been decided for spring finals. There's one more to go. Great week. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to everyone working production, tests, but you guys are awesome. We're going to take a break. We'll see you next week, Monday, 4 p.m. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, I guess go live your life, but come back Monday.
But come back, please.